Hi everyone, this is AJ and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my review for the latest episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This is episode 8 of this first season, so we're going to talk about it. Okay, so this episode is entitled The Elysium Kingdom. Now, two things before I start talking about this episode. Number one, there will be spoilers in this review, so please consider that before you progress. If that bothers you, then I suggest you switch off now and maybe go and watch the episode and then return. Second thing, if you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, give me a thumbs up. All that sort of stuff goes to helping the channel. So yeah, so this episode, The Elysium Kingdom. Now, we open up here with the Doctor and his daughter. His doctor is reading a story to his daughter. As you know, she's in the transport buffer because she's sick and she would die if she isn't being held in this sort of stasis. And she comes out every so often. He spends a small amount of time with her, but she's gradually getting worse and worse. He asks for a story to be read, like what he does for her. But she doesn't like the way the story is progressing and wants the story to continue the way that she wants it to continue. And he says to her that later on in life, you'll be able to do this. You'll be able to write your own stories and this sort of thing in a metaphorical kind of way. The Enterprise itself is off in space and it's taken a look at a nebula. It's sent out probes into this nebula, all this sort of stuff. And yeah, like what they're doing, science stuff, no action or anything like this. Anyway, when the Enterprise goes to leave, it doesn't depart its location. It's not working. I mean, it's all running, everything's fine with the systems on the ship, just the ship isn't moving. And there's a bit of a sort of a crash on the ship, and when everyone comes to, they're in a pantomime world, but no one realises this. They're in a storybook. The only person who realises this is the Doctor and the engineer. The engineer for reasons of his alien being, and the Doctor because the Doctor was playing around with some stuff earlier in the episode, some science experiments and this sort of thing, and something exploded in his face and all this sort of thing, and linked to that, I believe. Anyway, so we're given this story that's very similar to what Star Trek has done before in the past, but hasn't done recently. I'm talking about the episodes like Next Generation, when they're in the Robin Hood world, the ones where they're stuck in transport, in the holodeck, and believing they're other characters, you know, those sort of things. So it is a sort of a thing that Star Trek has done, but like I said, it's a thing that Star Trek hasn't done for a very, very, very long time. And does it work or not? Now, unfortunately, the episode itself, it does feel very, very filler. It does feel very filler in that it's giving you stuff that's going on for the majority of the episode that just doesn't have any inkling to anything. Okay, it's nice to see the actors getting to play different roles and mixing it up a bit with their performances. However, Anson Mount, he's so likeable as a captain that he doesn't work as this sort of slimy, double-crossing King's, you know, the slimy sort of character, like what Game of Thrones has got and that sort of a thing. Anson Mount just doesn't come across as that sort of a thing. So it's fun to see these characters in different sort of costumes, in a different sort of setting, in that the Enterprise is dressed differently and all this. But overall, it sort of amounts to nothing. By the end of the episode, we do come to find out, and this is the spoilery part, that the Enterprise is being held there by a consciousness within the nebula. And this is actually speaking to and playing with, essentially, the Doctor's daughter. It has taken the Doctor's daughter out of the transport and has the ability to cure her or make, you know, while it is there with her. So we get to this decision at the end where the Doctor has to decide between the crew and his daughter, and his daughter has to make a decision whether she wants to go back into the buffer or whether she wants to stay with the entity. Her daughter ultimately decides to stay with the entity. The Doctor is okay with this, and the Doctor and the daughter goes away. Then she appears again as a grown-up woman, because time is different within the entity than what it is out here. Even though a few seconds have passed, for the daughter years and years have passed. So all fine and good, but this is the biggest issue with it, is that number one, none of this is earned. It's not earned, right? We haven't got to know the Doctor yet. This is the Doctor's first full episode. We haven't got to know him as a character. The stuff with his daughter has just been touched upon primarily with little snippets here and there. So all of it feels just like a way of getting rid of this subplot that they've created, that they don't want around anymore with him and his daughter. Whereas me personally, I would have explored that a lot more and maybe given you something like this at the latter part of a season 2 to give it a bit more of an emotional impact. The Doctor himself, he acts it quite well with the emotional side coming from him, saying goodbye to his daughter, and I like that. But the writers know that there's no emotional impact here. That's the reason why they've had the daughter essentially come back seconds later as a grown-up woman and as a grown person, telling the Doctor, look, I've lived a life, I'm fine, I've been in there for years and I'm loving it, and so what you've done is great, it's you've made the right decision, don't worry about me, just to give it this nice, clean, happy ending. Now that, like I said, that doesn't sit right with me, because number one, it reeks of, let's get rid of this subplot, we don't want to carry on with this subplot, let's just wash over it very quickly, get it out of the way, and it, like I said, ultimately it just all feels so flat because it hasn't been earned over a long period of time, which is highly unfortunate. As episodes go, probably not an episode that I'd want to revisit anytime soon, with regard with the exception of maybe those last 5 minutes. That's the only bit that has any impact in anything going forward. All the rest is just played for fun, played for laughs. And yes, ultimately, a really not a great episode. Like I said, Star Trek is good at doing this stuff. I mean, in the past it has been, but that was a different time, that was a different era, and this sort of stuff isn't really, this sort of ball pit isn't played in anymore within sci-fi too much. It feels like an outdated kind of concept to have going on, and I appreciate what the show is doing in that respect, because you are harking back to original Trek and to the Next Generation, and I get that, I totally do get that, but audiences have matured, audiences have grown, so I don't really know how this will be taken. Like I said, for me, I'd much prefer to have it a year or two down the line as this show has progressed, and then earn that ending. But there we go. So other than that, you know, what can I say? Let me know what you thought about this episode. That's the bit that interests me, is a different, well, either same opinion, different opinion. I don't care how it is. You know, you can come on and you can say to me, you're out of line now, you're completely wrong, everything you're saying is just utter crap, it was the best episode ever. Let me know your thoughts, and we have a friendly conversation and all that. Hit that subscribe button. Come and join me next week for the next episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Only 2 left, and I am enjoying the series thus far massively. It's the best thing to come out of Star Trek since, well, Star Trek sort of come back. But there we go. Take care all, and goodbye.